Hello everybody. Today we are going to review the movie Wrath of Man. Now let me just say Jason Statham is definitely back, but in a very different way than what I thought it was going to be. This movie was a lot, although it had, I guess, kind of action-y moments, I thought it was going to be very much more action-based than what it actually was. But it was kind of a darker movie as far as Jason Statham goes. Like I would say there was definitely scenes that gave me chills, because I would say Jason Statham, his character was just called H. There's definitely some mystery to this character. We don't really know much about him other than he's trying to basically get with this company called Fortico. And we don't know anything about him other than he seems like kind of an average guy. He barely passes the test for gun training, and he's working security. As in a bank truck, so kind of like what's the big one? Brinks, kind of the same as Brinks. I don't know if Brinks is American or Canadian, but anyhow, I'm sure there's different bank companies in America as well, but it's kind of like Brinks here in Canada, if it's not America as well. But so he's working for Fortico, and we don't really know why he decided to work for this company. He obviously has some sort of background in security. We kind of get that from the very beginning of the film, but we're not really sure why he's decided to work for this specific company. So then, as it goes along, this movie's kind of in parts. It's very interesting, and each part is named. Now, forgive me for not remembering the names of each part, but he was actually working with a crew that was... So it looks like he was kind of like the kingpin of this crew that was doing these bank jobs. And unfortunately, he just kind of crossed another crew that was doing these bank jobs as well, and his son ends up dying in the process. So now we know that he's working for Fortico because he wants to catch the guys that are that have killed his son, especially the one man who pulled the trigger. Like, it seems like he'll stop at nothing to find that one guy. And he goes to some pretty extreme lengths to find this guy. He pretty much goes after all the top people. It seems crime bosses, anything that he can find. He goes after these two brothers that are some pretty sick shit. And, I mean, he's doing it to basically get redemption for his son's death, or revenge for his son's death. And I guess he knows it was an inside job at this point, because his right-hand man, now who was his right-hand man? If I can find it. If I can find him. Oh, there's so many people. Okay, so his right-hand man was Mike, played by Daryl Da Silva. And so he basically tells his crew that they haven't done enough in finding his son's killer, so they help him out with finding all these other people. And yeah, it gets pretty dark at certain points because he does not care what lengths he has to go to find his son's killer. He is ready to do literally anything it takes. And unfortunately, his crew kind of becomes tense about the whole situation, because even during the even when his son was shot, he was shot as well in the process. So he almost had a near-death experience himself. But then when he comes to, he finds out his son is dead. Obviously, his wife wasn't happy about it. She says due to his line of work, he basically killed their son. So now he feels like he has to go out and get revenge. So he starts working for this company, Fortico. After all of that goes down, he decides to. He says that he's to his team that he's going to go back to London. Clearly, not true. He ends up finding the list of people that he has to go after, which include all of the people in Fortico, including Bullet, who was played by Holt McCallany, Boy Sweat Dave, who was played by Josh Arnett. Who else was in that crew? Dana, who was played by Nima Algar. There was a couple of other people in the crew. I think Stewart was one of them. Alessandra Babalola. Whoa, it's quite the name. And Alex Ferns, who played John. I believe that was the main part of the crew. I might be wrong about a couple of the names, but forgive me if I am. So he starts working with them and kind of going through them all to find out who might have had names as to who killed his son. So as we go along, we kind of find out that he used to work for this company called Orange Delta, and he was security, which is obviously not even true, because we find out this woman that has been with him this entire time kind of makes him into this person he's really not, and we find out obviously that he failed the gun test and so on and so forth, or just barely passed in order to get in. But then when he gets in, he starts just absolutely brutalizing all these people. Like, you can tell he's clearly had serious practice on a gun range, and he has some sort of background in this, because his shot is just like dead on, and it's just Jason Statham to his core, or H in this movie as we call him. But a lot darker, not like Transport or anything else. It was just like he had a clear mission: find my son's killer, get him, murder him, and then I'm done. So I'm not really sure who the other guy he was working with was, whether he was a cop, or somebody a little bit of higher power than him in the crime game. Not really sure about that. But, near the end of the movie, I guess, because the storyline kind of just goes as he's becoming like this, kind of like hero as far as Fortico goes. Everybody's kind of rooting for him, and they're becoming a little bit more brave when they go out on jobs, obviously. So Bullet actually finally tells him that he has this crew. He's the one that's been doing these inside jobs, and I guess they kind of slowly figure out who he is, obviously, especially Bullet, because he doesn't want to end up dying in the process, right? So he kind of figures out who H is, and tells him basically at the end of the movie that if he wants to live, he will do exactly as they say, and let his crew get in and out clean. Obviously, that's not the way it goes. H seems to be able to find a way to get out of every bad situation. When some of the other workers from Fortico start shooting, he's able to actually shoot the one guy's foot and start to basically murder all the people that have done him wrong. Now, who else was on this crew as far as that goes? Jeffrey Donovan played Jackson. Scott Eastwood played Jan, who was the one that killed H's son. Diobia O'Perry played Brad. Laz Lano played Carlos. Raul Castillo played Sam, and Chris Riley played Tom. And Laz Alonso is also from, God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. The boys, right. So, if you recognize some of these people, That would be where I recognize him from anyway. So yeah, he's able to get a hold of him, and they do successfully make it out with the money, but Jackson knew that Jan was going to, I guess, betray them. Also, Andy Garcia played Agent King, which was the guy who gave H the list of people that he had to go after, and he does end up going after Dana first, but she had nothing to do with it, so she got off scot-free, but she was lucky that she didn't lie about it, because if she had of, she would have ended up dead at the end of the movie. Actually, I guess she does, because Bullet actually ends up killing her when he asks one of them for a gun, so it was kind of unfortunate that they got caught in the crossfire, because they didn't necessarily need to be caught in the crossfire, but that's what happened, which sucks for them, because they weren't even really part of it. Bullet was just kind of a dick about it. He could have been very different about it, but yeah, that's the only other way to describe it. So by the end of the movie, it's just him and Jan by the end of the movie. So obviously they're all kind of greedy for the money. Bullet goes to kill Jan, but isn't able to. Jan's a little bit quicker and kills Bullet, and then when he goes back to his house, he H is already there, and then he gives him the autopsy report of his son, and of course Jan doesn't remember killing him. It's just another body to him, right? So he says, "Why are you here?" And then H just shoots him in every place that he shot his son. So it was a very diabolical plan, basically, to kill his son's killer. And then when he goes back out, he says to Agent King, like, "We're done. I'm going back to England." Like, basically that's what he's getting at, is that he's done with that. He doesn't need to do any more. He's found his son's killer. He's satisfied, and he's going to leave the country now. So yeah, it was a lot darker of a movie. Now, the soundtrack was excellent in this movie. I would say it's one of those movies that I wasn't expecting it to be. It's kind of weird. It almost had like some horror elements to it, which I found very different for a Jason Statham movie, because usually he's known for his action stuff, but there wasn't very many. I mean, there was action scenes, but not like the typical action scenes you would get with a Jason Statham movie. It was a very slow burn kind of action, and he was just like a cold-hearted, merciless killer in this one, so he was a little bit better than the bad guys, I guess, in this movie, but he was also not the greatest guy himself. Like, what he was doing beforehand, before he started working for Fortico and trying to kill the people that killed his son, wasn't necessarily the best path of life, because he was also into crime. So, I mean, yes, his son dying was an unfortunate circumstance to his way of life, but it's almost like you can't really feel 100% bad for him, just because he was also not the greatest person and not living the best walk of life that he could have before he went into Fortico to try to find the people that killed his son. So it was kind of like evil versus evil in this movie, and it's almost like you're rooting for Jason Statham, but at the same time, like, you want him to get redemption for his son's death because it was an unnecessary circumstance to his line of work. But at the same time, you know, he's not really necessarily a good guy himself. So it's kind of like a confliction in this movie, but they did a really good job of it, making him out to be still the better guy, I guess. Because I guess he kind of realized in a way that obviously the way he was living his life before he decided to go to Fortico, it wasn't going to, you know, get him anywhere. And also when Mike sees him, it looks like he had seen a ghost, which was his right-hand man on his crew. Yeah, when Mike sees him, it's like, he's like, oh my god, we just have to back away and leave because we cannot kill this man. We know he's on a mission, and we just need to get out now. And unfortunately, Boy Sweat Dave was also a unfortunate circumstance in that, because he trusted Bullet and Bullet kills him as well, even though he probably could have taken him onto the crew. I'm sure he would have probably been okay with that, seeing as he kind of trusted Bullet along the way and didn't really trust H that much. But anyhow, yeah, overall, this movie was like, it was a 10 out of 10. It kept you guessing as to what was going to happen, kept you in suspense about the main character, which is very important, I think, because it didn't give anything away. Obviously, I might have given way more away than I should have, but I have absolutely no criticisms of this movie. It was good from beginning to end. That's why I have to give it a 10 out of 10. And I would say Jason Statham is back. And if anybody hasn't seen by now, Sylvester Stallone has kind of released a little teaser of a ring on Instagram for Expendables 4. And it seemed like nothing was actually officially announced on the IMDb about the Expendables 4 movie, which I've kind of been anticipating for a while. I knew it was going to be coming eventually, because I know they're trying to hand it off to a newer cast to continue on the series for many more movies. So I'm hoping that they have some of the younger people in this again, like they did in the third one, which was way back in 2014, I do believe. So it's been a while since we've seen the Expendables movie, but obviously the other guys will be reprising their roles. So it kind of seems very important that Jason Statham is doing this movie, and Sylvester Stallone just did the Rambo movie, what was it, a couple years ago, and Arnold Schwarzenegger has just been killing it so far in what he's doing. Now I'm not sure about the rest of them, like how many of the others will be in that movie, but I am excited to see where that actually goes, because I would like to see those guys back together. And they've kind of been like slowly like pushing one another, like, and promoting one another. Like, my friend Jason Statham is in this movie, and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone have been doing this back and forth banter between the two of them. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that as well and say I'm interested to see where that goes. And other than that, I think that's all I can say about this movie. Jason Statham always does an excellent job, and this was just like a star-studded cast as far as that goes. And obviously, many of the characters in this movie, I've seen in other stuff. Now, I can't pinpoint each person and what I've seen them in exactly, but I mean, yeah, it was just a very good cast. Each person fit their character very, very well. And it was actually interesting to see Jason Statham kind of take that like darker approach to his roles, or this role, because I don't think I've ever seen him kind of do that. I mean, he's always been the action type character, but I think this was a different kind of setting for him. He always seems to have that kind of like dark side to him in each movie, like you don't really want to know what he's fully capable of. But I think this movie kind of took it a step above and really showed the darker side to him, and how he can just be absolutely remorseless, if that's the right proper word, I guess. So yeah, I would say this movie was absolutely excellent. 10 out of 10 is what I have to give it. Now, IMDb, because I've been doing this lately in my reviews, only gave it a 7.2, which I think is an absolutely low rating, because I think they just knocked it out of the park with this one. Now, that's just me. Maybe I'm being a little bit biased because I'm a huge fan of Jason Statham and a couple of the other people that were in this movie, but I kind of took it as a whole, and I thought doing this in parts and the flashbacks and stuff were really good. And they actually showed it on screen, like we knew what time period we were in throughout the entire movie, so that made it a little bit better. And that's all I can say. I know I've said that already, but that's literally all I can say now. So as always, like, share, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this film if you've seen it. And if not, definitely go watch this one. If you're a Jason Statham fan, this is a good movie, and I highly recommend going to see it. It is on Netflix right now. Now I'm not sure how long it'll be on Netflix. I don't know because Netflix does this all the time where they kind of have like a, I don't know, it seems like they have a very short contract with some things and they take it off. So I'm not sure if it's available on anything. Oh, it is available on Prime Video if you have that as well for $4.99, I guess. Rent or buy. Now I'm not sure what that be to rent it or buy it for $4.99. I couldn't tell you. I have to go on Prime and actually check that myself. But anyhow, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.